It's a good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he missed it! It is! Peekaboo! Villa in the lead!
Good evening, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. Please subscribe, and you can follow me on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts, on all your favourite audio platforms. This evening, I'm joined by my special guest, Russ Goldman, who is the host of the Cottage Talk podcast, and the pre-match talk show is back again after the international break. Aston Villa return to Premier League action. Hopefully, we'll return strongly against Fulham with 3 points. We will trip in the capital to Craven Cottage. It's great to have you on the show. How are you, Russ?
Chad, thank you for having me on. I apologize for the lack of camera. I'm having some problems with my computer, so I'm glad I could at least speak to you via, you could just hear me. So I'm glad that I'm happy to do this show, and I look forward to speaking to you about this match. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it can't be out to with the issues, technical issues. It happens. But with Fulham, they're a very unpredictable team. You don't know what to expect with them.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for Fulham, I would say, since Marco Silva has taken over, Chad. We came from a really bad season with Scott Parker, and then we've really had this evolution under Marco Silva. And right now, this is the third season of Fulham back in the Premier League. And we are now, I think, headed in the direction that we all hope Fulham would be heading in, and that's maybe towards Europe. And that's a very big difference to what we have been for the past 7 or 8 years when we became a yo-yo club going back and forth. Yeah. Now we have established ourselves in the Premier League. And it's very funny because I actually see Fulham now on a similar path to Aston Villa. Aston Villa are just farther along in their progression. Fulham are playing catch-up. But there's a lot to like about both of these sides. Both sides have great managers. Both sides have actually very interesting attacks. Solid at the back with solid goalkeepers, excellent goalkeepers, and solid defenses. So this is going to be a matchup that's at Craven Cottage. It's a very even matchup as I see it from my perspective.
Well, Marco Silva, he has done a very good job, especially steadying the ship. But all I really find his tactics very fascinating.
Yeah, so his tactics, Chad, are pretty much, I wouldn't say they're similar to Emery's. They are different, but I will tell you that his tactics are to play on the front foot. He wants Fulham to be aggressive. This is not a team that's going to sit back. This is a team that is going to on the front. Now, when they play against the bigger clubs, they will play on the break. But when they're at home, they're going to play and try to dictate the play to their opponent. And that includes even when they played up against Newcastle United recently at Craven Cottage. It probably surprised a few people when they saw how aggressive Fulham were against a very good Newcastle United side. Aston Villa are a better side, so it's going to be a very difficult match. But I expect Fulham to try to take it to Aston Villa, and I see these two teams going back and forth. Like I said, I think it's
Yeah.
two teams that like to play football, so it's going to be an attractive game.
Well, Russ, I'd like to know, where are you from in the USA?
Sure, Chad. I am actually about 45 minutes outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
I actually live right down the street, basically 10 to 15 minutes away from where the New England Patriots play and where the New England
Uh-uh.
Revolution play. So I am in between Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston. So I do have a little bit of a Boston accent. You might be hearing it.
Yes.
But I've been a Fulham supporter since 2007. I'm very passionate about the club, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions about Fulham.
Yeah, it'll be interesting actually. So all the way from America in Boston, Massachusetts. So what do you support for them?
Sure. So I get this question a lot. Why Fulham? And it's a very interesting answer that I'm going to give you. And it starts with Clint Dempsey, who played for the New England Revolution. So
Good player.
I've always been back then looking for a club to call my own. And I tried several clubs, and none of them took for me. So I decided to give Fulham a look because Clint was going to Fulham. And the best thing that happened to me, and it probably wasn't the best thing for Fulham supporters, was that I started following Fulham when they went through what is known as the Great Escape, when they literally went to the last match of the season against Portsmouth, and Danny Murphy scores to keep Fulham in the Premier League. And that whole journey of being in a relegation battle is what really enforced me becoming a Fulham supporter. And then they took off from there. Then in a couple seasons after that, they were in the Europa League. So I really went from the bottom to really not the top, but back to Europe. I mean, I think is amazing for Fulham that they were able to actually get into Europe, I should say. And it was a wonderful journey. And then ever since then, it's been like a roller coaster ride, up and down, up and down.
It's amazing with
Now
America,
it's almost feels like, yes,
but look, they got a big fan base with different Premier League teams.
yep,
It's like with Tom Hanks. He supports Villa. You got Will Ferrell
yep,
supports Chelsea.
yep. I will tell you this, Chad, because I was actually in Philadelphia for a Premier League summer series last year.
Oh,
And
wow,
there
what an
were a
amazing
ton
experience.
of Aston Villa supporters there, a ton.
Mhm.
So Aston Villa are very well supported here in America.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, really, all the way in America. I've actually got a few friends that support Villa. The likes of the California Lions. With Rick the Young. It's amazing to see, really.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, before I get into some of the questions, Russ, yesterday I was on the All Villa, No Villa podcast with Frankie Maguire. It was a great interview. It was a great opportunity to talk about the condition, spreading awareness, and my passion, big passion about Aston Villa and my podcast. So if you guys haven't seen the show yet, go and check that interview out. So please subscribe to All Villa, No Villa. And one more thing I'd like to mention as well. Aston Villa legend, Gary Shaw. It was his funeral yesterday, which was at Villa Park. The procession, which went to Sutton Coldfield Crematorium. And deep condolences to his family it really shows in Gary Shaw. He was really loved by all the Aston Villa family. Rest in peace, Gary Shaw. And you got given a send-off, which you deserved. So let's get into a lot of fun guy then, Russ.
Okay.
So after the international break, what is your thoughts going into this game? What do you expect?
So it's interesting, Chad, because I'm waiting to hear some news probably
Mhm.
at tomorrow's presser with Marco Silva for the status of
Mhm.
one player coming back from international duty. He didn't play, but there was a player that did not go on international duty. And I'm waiting to hear about the situation with Joachim Andersen, who is,
Mhm.
I would say, Fulham's best defender. So we'll see about that. Fulham will be without Sasa Lukic. Reportedly, he got injured on international duty. But beyond that, going into the international break after a loss to Man City, where I actually felt Fulham should have gotten something from it, I've been feeling pretty positive about my club, and I expect
Mhm.
Fulham to really play well against Aston Villa. I expect it. They play extremely well at
Mhm.
home. We'll see how everyone comes back from the international break, but I think both clubs deal with that. So I'm really excited to see what Marco Silva's plan is going to be without Sasa Lukic. So that is what
Yeah.
really interests me.
Well, I thought the fun was very unlucky against Man City. I mean, if it wasn't for conceding those goals, I think Fulham might have won that game
Yeah.
as well.
Well, that's what's interesting, Chad, is that Fulham are now a club that I would say 2 seasons ago in the Premier League, they would beat the teams around them, and that's how they stayed in the Premier League. Last year, they were able to beat Arsenal. They were able to beat Tottenham Hotspur. So they started to beat clubs that were above them. This season, I think that they're on their way to be doing that same thing. So for me, it's pretty exciting because I've seen Fulham go from a team that is just looking to basically survive in the Premier League to potentially thrive. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a very good season for Fulham. Like I mentioned, a couple of players have really changed their team. I mentioned Joachim Andersen. He's been a
Yeah.
huge change. Adama Traore has been a revelation this season, but the player that has really changed Fulham this season and that Fulham
Yeah.
are built around is Emile Smith-Rowe. So with Emile Smith-Rowe, Fulham are just a different
Yes.
class, in my opinion.
It gives you more creativity.
Absolutely.
And going back to Anderson, he's a very good ball-playing centre-back.
Absolutely.
Well, he's one of those players where he's very confident in the ball at his feet.
Absolutely. And with those two additions, I'm talking about Anderson being the ball carrying center back and being able to switch the play the way he does and the way he defends, he's a leader back there. And then you have Emile Smith-Rowe with his creativity really feeds off of everything they're trying to do because they want to play the ball out from the back, Chad. And now
Yeah.
they have a defender that allows them to do that confidently and then get the ball up to our wingers or go through Emile Smith-Rowe. So things are a little bit different than they have been in the past. Fulham were basically built around Alexander Mitrovic a couple seasons ago. They're certainly not anymore.
Yeah. They're not a one-man team anymore. And also, the 8th in the Premier League, which I think for Fulham is a decent start to the season.
Yes. It's been a great start for us, Chad, to be honest with you. And when I look at Aston Villa, to be honest with you, it's a team that I think Fulham need to aspire to. And it's funny because I was at the playoff final in 2018. Fulham
I was
win, right? Yep, I was there. You were
It was
there?
heartbreaking. Yeah,
Yep.
it was heartbroken.
Well, let's look at that now because if you look at it, and you
Yeah,
look at it now, it probably was a blessing in disguise for Aston Villa because now
A turning point?
a turning point for Aston Villa. Whereas for Fulham, I'm not saying it was fool's gold, but they weren't ready for it. They weren't ready to go to the Premier League. They weren't built to go to the Premier League. Aston Villa were. So that's why you've progressed quicker than we have. And but again, I look at Aston Villa as a team that Fulham should be looking towards in the future.
Yeah. Well, only with this guy, from Aston Villa point of view, we want to get top 4 again. So I think this is a guy where we need to get 3 points. The thing is, we dropped points against Ipswich. It's a guy really we should have won.
I would agree with that.
And the Man United guy, that was a Champions League hangover. But I think if we want to progress this season, I think it's a guy we need to win, I think.
I would agree with you, Chad. And what's interesting about this is that I think it's a pivotal match for both sides. You just talked about, from an Aston Villa perspective, if you have aspirations to be in the Champions League spots, this is a match you should win. If Fulham want to progress and be in the mix for Europe, this is a match they should win. So that's what's fascinating about this match at Craven Cottage, because this is a match that both clubs should be looking at. They should be getting all 3 points.
Well, then we talked about Fulham style of play. So as a Fulham fan, do you enjoy watching your style of play?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I can put it to you this way, Chad. Anyone that has watched Fulham under Scott Parker would know why I enjoy this style of play so much. Because under Scott Parker a few seasons ago, Fulham's style of play was dreadful. It was horrible. It was what we call Parker ball. It was just terrible to watch. So you go from that to Fulham getting relegated, and Marco Silva comes in, and he has changed Fulham to a team that wants to play in the front foot, to a team that's extremely aggressive. The style of play is something pleasing on the eyes. And like I said, it's not the same as Unai Emery's style, but it is similar, where it is a style that is going to be aggressive and offensive.
It's a bit like when we had Steven Gerrard. At that point, the football was absolutely awful. And now you got Unai Emery, who has transformed Aston Villa. Very similar to what I'm doing for them.
Yeah, listen, Emery's a wonderful coach. I remember him at Aston Villa and even before that, and I was actually surprised of what happened with him at Arsenal, not at Aston Villa. And I was surprised with that situation, but he's got you playing great football, and it's just such a difference from, like you mentioned, the situation with Gerrard, because it turns out that Fulham were probably the team that's when everything changed. So that's a turning point. So Fulham were involved in a turning point for Aston Villa.
Also with Fulham playing very attractive football. A big thing with Fulham, that their build-up play through the back is very good.
Yep.
It's key from your centre-backs, really.
Absolutely. Honestly, that's the way that the build-up play is everything for Fulham right now. So that's why Joachim Andersen and Calvin Bassey are very important to how Fulham play, because you're going to have fullbacks that are going to want to get forward and link up with Traore on one side and Iwobi on the other. So it's important that you have these two real good center backs being able to move the play as quickly as they can up the pitch. So for me, I agree with you. The center back position is key, but I also will tell you that we're fortunate. Both clubs are fortunate to have excellent goalkeepers. You have probably one of the best in the world, if
Well,
not the best in the world.
the best in the world, yeah.
Yes, he's probably, if not the best in the world, he should be in that contention for best in the world. That's how good of a goalkeeper he is.
Mhm.
And Bernd Leno is not at that level, but he's not far behind. But
Another thing
I think it makes a huge difference.
about Leno, he's
Yep.
very underrated.
Extremely. Extremely. The only thing that I will tell you, Chad, and you might notice this in the match, is that he does have a mistake in him playing the ball out from the back.
Mhm.
So if I was an Aston Villa player from Unai Emery, I do press Fulham and I try to make Leno make a mistake. He has done this in several matches. So because they are going to play the ball out from the back. So if you get in his head and you force a mistake, listen, Manchester City could have scored a goal very early in that match from a mistake that Leno made. However, Leno is a tremendous shot stopper. Tremendous. So it's one of these situations I wish he did not have this mistake in him, but he does. It's just part of who he is. But he overall is a tremendous goalkeeper.
The other thing I like about Fulham as well, they like to push the fullbacks further forward, supporting the attackers. I really like the USA international Robinson.
Yep.
What
Yeah,
do you like him?
Yeah, he's been great. Listen, Anthony Robinson is a player that has just improved his game over his time at Fulham, and I've been very critical over his time at Fulham. I've been called him out many times on some of his play, but every time I call him out, he works on his game and he's gotten better, and he does push forward. His crossing has gotten much better. His defending has gotten much better. What was that?
He works very hard.
He works extremely hard. So Jedi was our player of the season last year, and it was well deserved.
The thing I like about Robinson as well, he's very good getting behind the byline. And he can put the low crosses.
Yep.
And the high crosses as well.
Yeah, his crossing's interesting because it's not what I would call a typical fullback crossing, but it works, Chad. It works, and like I said, it's great to see his improvement. On the other side, we have Kenny Tete, who's an underrated fullback. So we have two quality fullbacks, and what's interesting because I'm looking at Aston Villa. Same thing with Aston Villa. You have quality fullbacks. There's quality all over both sides. I truly believe. So that's what makes me fascinated about this match is that the talent of Fulham is not, if I'm being honest, not at the level of Aston Villa, but it's getting closer.
And also with Fulham, the only thing which I think is the concern, you leave yourselves open. You need to work on your defence.
Yep. Well, what's interesting, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That's an interesting discussion, Chad, because what's interesting about Fulham is that, like I said, they do have that ability to leave themselves open a little bit. But that's why Sasa Lukic was such a huge part of their season so far. Like I said, he's injured. I don't expect him to play in this match based on the information that we're hearing. So Fulham are probably going to have Sander Berge play that role. That would be my guess, that it would be Sander Berge to play that role as your number 6. So we'll see if he will be able to not just move the ball forward, but to be able to help that back four. But like I said, they do push forward, so there can be gaps there. There can be gaps to break.
Well, I'll go to the next question. So in the Fulham team, who would you say your best players? You have to choose.
If I had to choose Fulham's best player right now, I'm going to go, believe it or not, even though he's not been with Fulham for a long time, because I think Fulham are built around or going to be built around this player. I'm going to tell you it's Emil Smith-Rowe. Emil Smith-Rowe, even right now, is Fulham's best player. Right behind him would be Joachim Andersen, because two new players I think have been pivotal to Fulham's start to the season.
I liked Emil Smith-Rowe. I liked him in his Arsenal days.
Yep.
I think his biggest threat as well on Saturday's game, which could cause Villa's defence problems, is a Adama Traore.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to stop him.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that, Chad. What's interesting about Traore, and we've talked a lot about this on Cottage Talk, is if he scores on one or multiple opportunities against Man City, everything looks a little bit different going into this Aston Villa match, meaning that Fulham really should have gotten something out of this match. His finishing is really the reason why he's at Fulham and not at Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go there because that's really what it is.
He's got to work on it. He's going to be consistent. Consistency.
Yeah. Well, that's where he's lacking the finishing consistency. I would agree with that. But to watch him play, Chad, he's going to scare you. He is absolutely going to scare you.
Yeah, he's a joy to watch.
Yeah. If you watch the Man City match, Kyle Walker is a player with a tremendous amount of pace, and he blew by him like he wasn't even there.
His pace is blistering.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Traore. He's always getting in the opposition's faces. He's very direct.
Absolutely.
He gets your team further up the pitch.
No, I totally agree. And he has been a vital part of Fulham's season so far, Chad.
And even his confidence to go past 3 players or 4 players, the way he does it, he keeps going past players.
Yeah, again, like I said, what's interesting about watching him is that he can get by pretty much anyone. And then we have a player on the other side that is a little bit different, but is dangerous as well, and Alex Iwobi. So you got Iwobi on one side. You have Traore on the other side. You got Smith-Rowe in the middle. And it's been a very interesting attack. And then up front right now, you have Raul Jimenez, who is finding some form. So going forward, Fulham have become a team that last season was looking for an identity going forward, and now they've kind of found one.
And also in Traore, he used to play for Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, he did. And again, we got him on a free from Wolves, and he played with Jimenez. So it's what's interesting here, Chad, if you look at Fulham right now, they have 2 ex-Wolves players playing together, and then you have a bunch of ex-Aston Villa players playing. I'm sorry, Arsenal players. I'm sorry, not Aston Villa. Arsenal players. Yep.
Also, one more thing as well.
Sure.
With Traore, he likes to sometimes track back more often now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he does. I mean, he's become a two-way player, and that's what's interesting about the style of play with Marco is that, like I said, you mentioned earlier that Fulham can be open at times, but these players are getting back. They are going back and forth. They're not just hanging forward. They are coming back. And Traore defending has been good, and again, like I said, they truly play what has made this so enjoyable for me, Chad, is that I go back to Fulham being about one player 2 seasons ago, and that was Alexander Mitrovic. And all about him. It was all about feeding him. And now it's about...
a bit like with Aston Villa a few years ago, when we had Jack Grealish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about... Exactly. So what's interesting I'm glad that you brought up Grealish, right? Nothing against Jack Grealish. He was a great player for you. But I would ask you, are you a better side without Jack Grealish?
I think we are because we used to rely on him too much before.
Exactly. Exactly. And that
Yeah.
was the same thing with Fulham, Chad. Even last year, we were more about, even though he was a defensive midfielder, it was all about Paulinho. Everything was about Paulinho.
Mhm.
He's gone now. And the big thing was, well, how could we replace Paulinho? And they have figured that out. And it really is more to do with a team unit. I look at Aston Villa, and there are dangerous players all over the pitch. And it's not about, you can't just say we're going to take out Ollie Watkins because there's so many other players to watch out for. When you were built around Grealish, it was all about Grealish. And nothing against that, but I would rather have the Aston Villa side right now than the team with Grealish.
But also, another player that I like is Andres Pereira.
Yeah.
Pereira. He's a very good finisher, I think. I think he's a fantastic vision.
Yeah, what's interesting about Pereira, and this might surprise you, Chad, is that the opinion on him is 50-50. Either you love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
And what's interesting...
What about you? Do you like him?
Well, I like him because I know that he does the other parts of the game that Marco wants. He does the pressing. He does the defending. His set pieces are not where they were 2 seasons ago, and he doesn't score enough. However, he did score against Manchester City. So the biggest knock on him, Chad, is that as the number 10 last season, he didn't score many goals. And then you brought in Emile Smith-Rowe, who was already scoring the goals and playing that role. And now you got Pereira playing as your number 8. And I think it's actually working out pretty good.
But in your squad, in Marco Silva's squad, you got very good options. Got even Raul Jimenez.
Yep.
He's a great target man. He's got physical area ability.
Yep. No, he listen. He's been very good when he's been healthy, and he's been very good when he has not gotten a suspension. He got a suspension last year against Newcastle United that actually set Fulham back the 3 games he was out when he got his red card. And that really affected Fulham, but also it gave an opportunity for another player to step up, and he did. So again, that's what's interesting about Fulham, and what will be interesting about this match is that they've been pretty healthy throughout the season so far, and they might be dealing with some issues coming into this match, and it's going to be who will step up. Is it going to be Rodrigo Muniz because Jimenez is coming back from international duty? Will it be Sander Berge taking the place of Sasulukic? So that's what's interesting to me about this. Can they win when they're not having their best lineup? And that's what's fascinating about this match. I know Aston Villa has dealt with some serious injuries, but they still continue to win.
As a Fulham fan, it'd be interesting to hear your expectations. So, as a Fulham fan, what do you want to see from Fulham this season?
So, Chad, I want to see Fulham end in a European spot. That's what I want. That's what I wanted last season. It did not happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I want this season. I predicted 7th. Now, if that might be ambitious to some listening, like, why would you predict that? And I predicted it because of the additions that Fulham have made this summer, the 3rd season under Marco Silva. I just thought everything would come together, and so far it has. 7th is ambitious for me, but I'm an ambitious guy, and the manager's ambitious. So for me, I don't think it's crazy, and I actually did a podcast yesterday with a special guest. He's like, it's not crazy to say Fulham should be contending for Europe. They should be. They absolutely should be.
For them now, they need to They need to go to the next level.
Right. Right. And like I said, that's kind of why I look at your club and I say, see what you have done, see how much you've progressed. And listen, Aston Villa is a bigger club than Fulham. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth of the matter. But the thing is, when you're a club like Fulham and you have a manager that's ambitious like this, you need to match the ambition. Marco Silva doesn't want Fulham to be happy just to be in the Premier League, to be comfortable, to be a mid-table side. That's not his ambition. And I've said this, and people laugh at me when I say this, but Marco Silva's ambition is to be in the Champions League spots. Now, can he do it with Fulham? I don't know. I mean, that's a big ask. It's a huge ask.
Yeah.
Obviously, not this season, but I'm telling you, that is his ambition. His ambition is to someday for Fulham
Mhm.
to get to fourth, and I would love to see that in my lifetime. I doubt it's going to happen, but I can't be against that ambition. So my ambition is similar to the managers, is that I want Fulham to progress and be in a team that's fighting for Europe. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But it's good to, in the Premier League to have different competition. You already have the likes of Newcastle and Aston Villa. They've got Champions League football. It made a change. And we need
Yeah.
to break that cycle.
Yeah.
I personally think Fulham, I'm predicting you guys to finish in the top half. But maybe I could be wrong. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, Chad. But again, I'm very confident in my club, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm very much looking forward to the match on Saturday, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, as for Aston Villa, we wouldn't get in the top four again. Or at least the top six, I would think. And maybe give it a go in this season Champions League.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Aston Villa should be aspiring for the Champions League, and maybe someday even higher than that.
Yeah, well, as long as we keep consistent. Also, Ross, I'm going to get something up. But Aston Villa, they got Unai Emery. But Unai Emery's got a great record in Europe in general.
Right?
So I'm just going to get it up on the screen so everyone can see.
Okay.
So yeah, so we got Conference League first. His win percentage was 62.5. He won 10. He drew 3. He lost 3. And he got to one semi-final with Villa. And he got to the last 16 once. And then let's read the other record, Champions League record. His win percentage is 42.59. And the 23 wins, 11 draws, and 20 defeats. And he's got to a semi-final with Villarreal before. Then he got to the last 16 3 times. On the group stage 3 times. Then the last one is Europa League record. He's got a very good record in that competition. The win percentage 62.76. 59 Europa League wins. 22 draws. 13 defeats. And we know he's won that competition 4 times, which is an incredible CV.
Absolutely.
And also, he got to one final. You got to a semi-final, a quarter-final, and the last 32. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just think that for Aston Villa, with your ambition, I think you have an ambitious manager that has a track record.
Yeah.
But I just think that I think when you look at clubs that you're in and around now, let's call it what it is. You are in and around with Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United, Liverpool. You are in and around them. And
Yes.
for me, the difference can be the manager. The difference because you can play with all those teams and beat all those teams. It comes down to, do you have the right manager to not just win in the Premier League, but win in Europe? And I think you do. I think you absolutely do. I think you should do whatever you can to hold on to this guy for as long as you can.
Yeah, we're going to make the most of him.
What was that?
We're going to make the most of him.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Make the most of him.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I just, I'm a big fan of his, and I just think that
When we
you ha-
beat Bayern Munich,
right.
so I don't think we can beat a big elite team like that. I don't think we're good enough to get at least in even the top 8.
Oh, I totally agree, Chad. I think Aston Villa's goals, if you're asking me, with the manager that you have, should be sky's the limit. It should be top 4, and eventually, if it continues to build, you continue to bring in the
Yeah.
players that you can get, then you can compete with anyone. That should be what Aston Villa should be striving for. Aston Villa should be striving for someday winning the Premier League.
Yeah.
They should be. That's how I
And
feel about your club.
I want Villa to win a trophy.
Exactly, or win a trophy. Listen, the history of Aston Villa is tremendous, and it needs to go back to where to that level. And you're at that level right now, but I think it can go even higher. It's funny, when I started watching Fulham, my history of Fulham isn't obviously probably as long as many. I started in 2007.
Yeah.
And the two clubs besides the top 4 that I would look at and say, okay, they're getting close, were Everton and Aston Villa. And I never thought I would see the day where both these clubs would have a hard time, especially Everton. I never thought that they would go to the bottom of the league, but that's where they are. Aston Villa get relegated. I never thought I would see that in my life, but they did.
Yeah.
But
Good.
when
Yeah.
you go down like that, now you're coming back up. And as long as you have strong ownership, strong manager, strong staff behind him, and strong players, I think that Aston Villa can go as high as you want.
Well,
And
Emery's project,
yep,
he's going to give them the keys to the castle.
yeah, right. And and for me, like I said, you got the right guy, Chad. I truly believe this. You have the right manager. And I just think
Trust him
that,
and put him back in.
what was that?
You got to put him back in.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I don't watch Aston Villa each and every week, okay? But when I do watch them and I do see your team play, I've just been very impressed. I know what you're building there. And you just have to back the manager for his vision, because his vision is probably similar to Marco's, but I think you're further along in your project than Fulham are.
Well, the
I
thing
mean,
is, with Emery, he's going to build a legacy at Villa Park. He already has.
yeah, he is going to build a legacy that, again, you should be very proud of. And listen, you're still in the beginning stages of this, Chad. And if I'm an Aston Villa supporter, I would be very happy about what could be coming in the future.
So let's talk about Fulham's head coach, Sir Marco Silva. What's your thoughts on him?
Well, his nickname with Fulham supporters is the genius. So that should just tell you what Fulham supporters and myself think about him. He's an excellent manager. He's a tactician, and he is one that puts his players in the best position to succeed. The way I look at a manager, Chad, is that do the players improve underneath him? Do they get better? And I can tell you that 95% of the players that have played under Marco Silva have improved. They all improve. And that is the mark of a good manager, is when he takes a player and makes him better. Best example I can give you is Adama Traore right now. Adama Traore was, again, Fulham got him on a free. He was heading in the wrong direction. He comes to Fulham, he gets another lease on life. How about Willian last season and the season prior? Again, at the end of his career, another lease on life. These players have improved. So many of them. I'd be hard-pressed to name a player that has not gotten better playing under Marco Silva. That, to me, is a mark of an excellent coach. Do the players get better? And they do.
Marco Silva, he's got Fulham performing consistently in the Premier League. And you're not just avoiding a relegation point.
Right. And that, to me, is what's key here, is that we're not even talking about relegation. We have not talked about relegation in any of the seasons since we've come back.
You can look at Silva. In 3 years, he's been the manager.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he's been the manager all 3 seasons. He was the manager when Fulham were back in the championship. So this is his 4th season. And he has, just like I said, he has changed Fulham, hopefully for years to come. And we just hope that he stays for a long time. But it's football, who knows? But I'm just very happy with the job that he's done at Fulham, Chad.
Well, the thing I look at Marco Silva, he's given Fulham their own identity and with his own style and tactics.
Yes. Basically, Fulham are playing in the vision of him. So this is his vision, and Fulham are playing in that vision. So this is all what Marco wants. The Fulham are playing the way Marco wants. Fulham were not playing the way Marco wanted when Mitro was there. When Mitrovic was there, I truly believe, changed his style to meet up with the talent that Alexander Mitrovic was. But now that he's gone, in a way, it's changed and freed up Fulham.
Well, we're coming towards the end of the podcast.
Okay.
But Russ, can you spread the word about my podcast?
Sure. What would you like me to say about your podcast? You want me to spread the word? I'd be happy to spread the word about your podcast. Absolutely.
I've enjoyed speaking to you as well.
Well, I've enjoyed speaking to you, Chad. I can't say enough good things about doing this show with you. And anything I can do to help you, I'd be very happy to in the future.
Well, before I finish, I'd just like to say that me and Michael Huggins are doing some fundraising for Icons Hospice Trust. So after this video goes out, I'll add in the comments the link again. But we know money's tight at the moment, but even a donation, minimum of £2, will be fine. And also, the quiz night, which me and Michael mentioned, as December, Christmas, is a very busy and expensive time. We have put back the podcast, the quiz night, to April. So we'll keep you guys updated. We just think we got a better chance getting more guests involved. So thank you. Well, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give it the thumbs up. Don't smash the like button. Share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Also, leave us a good review on all our audio platforms. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much, Russ, for your time.
You're welcome, Chad. I'm happy to do it and happy to do it again when Fulham play Aston Villa at Villa Park.
Definitely. I'm going to wrap up this episode with Up the Villa